Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of LogisticSales.com. Today, I will be your co-host, Gail Neuenhausen, and with me is my co-host, Damon Graywall. Say hello, Damon.
Hello, hello.
Today is the final episode in our Mastering Phone Sales series, and we're going to be talking about the moment that separates average reps from top performers, and that is the close. When it comes to the close, you can ask the great questions, you can handle all of the objections perfectly, and you can follow up consistently. But if you don't close confidently, at the end of the day, you won't get paid. In this episode, we're going to break it down for you, though, so that you know why most reps struggle to close, the mindset of elite closers, simple closing frameworks that are actually going to work for you so you can take them home and practice them in your sales, how to recognize buying signals, and finally, how to ask for the sale with authority. Now, Damon, let's start with the biggest question and the biggest issue that we see. Why sales reps struggle to close?
For sure. Thank you for that, Gail. So most reps don't struggle with getting the conversation going and going through the general sales process, but they do struggle with the actual close. They struggle with confidence, and they're afraid of things like hearing no, sounding too pushy, losing the deal, or even being judged. So instead of closing, they end up over-explaining, keep talking out of a sale, and then they delay the ask. So closing feels uncomfortable because it feels final for them. And so this is where we want them to get them to start relaxing and saying, hey, you know what? It's okay to do this because, again, like you mentioned, if you don't do the close, then they're not really going to get paid for the work that they're doing. So here's the truth. If you've done everything right up to this point, as in, doing the follow-ups, getting to a point where you can close, closing should feel very natural. So Gail, can we talk about like that mind shift or mindset shift that they need to have in order to make that close happen?
Definitely. And it really does come down to a mindset because we see a big distinction between the successful sales reps who have the proper mindset and the ones that are still struggling to form the proper mindset to be able to walk in and make a close. And it's really funny, actually. Sometimes you'll see these new sales reps, they'll have a great phone call. The conversation is good. They're building that rapport. They're building that connection piece. And they may have even walked the customer into saying yes. And then at the end of the conversation, they're like, all right, have a great day. Click. And they don't ask where they could have had that sale just by asking. So we want to talk about the mindset because restructuring your mindset to understanding that closing is not pressure, but that closing is clarity is going to give you that guidance and that forethought as you move forward in your sales cycle and start asking for the close. You have to keep in mind that when you are asking for a close, it's not to force someone into buying something. It's helping them to make a decision that you know is right for them. When we're going through the sales process, we're building all of the solutions for them. We're making sure that it's a right fit for them and that it's going to hit a service need for that customer. So we know that we're not just getting them to buy, but we're actually helping them. So strong closers, they have these characteristics ingrained in their mindset. They believe in their solutions wholeheartedly. They have this ability to stay nice and calm under pressure, and they can accept the no's without any emotions because they're focused on that value, not the approval of customers who aren't the right fit or maybe not the right budget for them. And that's because confidence comes from that preparation. Once a sales rep has listened, they've handled those objections, they've aligned on that value, closing is just simply the next logical step you take. So if you hesitate, the prospect's going to hesitate. If you're confident, if you ask the question and they feel safe deciding, you're going to make that sale.
Yeah, and that's something I think a lot of reps kind of forget is that they can actually transfer that energy over to that client and staying confident. Like a client wants to be led in that situation to know that, hey, who's in charge here? Are you going to take care of me? Are you going to actually handle this process or are you scared? Right? So again, that fear that you may have to make that close is actually going to translate to that customer and it's going to prevent you from having that sale. So that repetition is also a key strategy that you can use, and also preparing ahead of time and even going through like a mindset exercise of visualizing that sale happen will actually help to make that sale close for you when that time comes because you've already visualized it so many times.
Exactly. And I think visualization is extremely important, but we can't just visualize without having proven closing techniques to guide us to that direction. So I want to go over some simple closing techniques, and I'm going to hand that over to Damon to get us started on that and go over some techniques that you can use in your own sales.
All right. Thank you, Gail. So yeah, we'll go over 3 basic techniques that are very common and work on these closes. So the first one we talk about is assumptive closes. And this assumes that there's alignment between the customer and you as a sales rep or the company or the purchase that they're looking to make. And this is based on the previous conversation. So based on those follow-ups, you're going to be able to say something like, based on what you've shared, this solution fits great to your goals. Let's move forward and get this started. So something like that, where it's calm, confident, and direct, is going to allow you to be able to make that sale and do it confidently. Again, make it very simple and concise. Again, just by using some information that you've used or that you heard from the customer in that previous conversation.
Yeah. And the important part to note when you're talking about the assumptive close is that sentence where you say, like, let's move forward and get this started. That's an assumption, which we don't do too often in sales, but occasionally we do love to throw it into the close because it is a great tool for getting a customer or a prospect to say yes. When it comes to that assumption, you should have all of your ducks in a row. You should have answered all of the questions leading up to it to already have that mindset that the customer's probably going to say yes anyways before making that attempted close. But I mean, I've seen it with customers in transportation and logistics a lot of the time where I'm just like, all right, I'm going to send you over the setup paperwork. We haven't even talked about doing business together yet and haven't had that legitimate conversation of, yes, I will give you my business. But I'm like, I'll send over the setup paperwork. And 9 times out of 10, it's okay.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Sometimes you're doing close after close after close just to even test the situation out. And that's a real good one where you can test the close by doing one of these types of closes, but also knowing that you may have to do multiple closes to get the deal finally done. And so regardless of where the distraction comes from, just remember that you can transition from, one close to another, because sometimes it takes a couple tries to be able to actually close it. So that moves us right into the second close, which is the summary close. And this is where we more recap the pain points of the customer and the solution that we're about to provide them with and put it together into a close. So an example of this would be, hey, you mentioned delivery delays and unpredictable costs were hurting your operations. So we've outlined a solution that improves reliability and stabilizes pricing. Are you comfortable moving ahead? And so this reinforces the value statement that we're making before making the close ask.
And I think that is really needed sometimes. Some customers need it. You may have had 10 conversations leading up to this close conversation where you've outlined the value, and they might need you to lay it out A, B, C, D, E, F, and G one more time for them so that they can make that informed decision. So be ready, have all your information, have all of your notes, and be able to summarize your whole conversation to ask for that close.
For sure. And that's just putting together all the solutions and saying, here it is. Let me package it up for you. Again, the A, B, C, D, and give it to them as a summary and just say, hey, if I've given you everything, can we move ahead? And the last one that we jump into is the direct close. And this is where it's just, again, the simplicity that wins the deal. Again, for example, are you ready to move forward? And then just pause and stay silent. And most likely they're going to come back with something for you to be able to say, yeah, hey, you know what? Maybe we're okay with that. So strong closers aren't afraid of the silence. And it's just the ability to just put it out there and wait, see what happens. So Gail, can we talk about recognizing about the buying signals from clients and what that looks like for many reps? And because so many reps miss those signals, we might want to go over them.
Yeah, I'm very excited to go over this because that is 100% true. A lot of sales reps miss these. And if you miss them, you're going to miss out on opportunities. So I think it's really important that we dive into recognizing buying signals today so that you don't miss them the next time an opportunity opens. All right. So when it comes to buying signals, they're often going to sound something similar to this. How soon could you start? What does onboarding look like? How does billing work? What would the next steps be? When is your next truck available? All of those are very subtle, I'm ready to do business with you cues. So these are not just casual questions. They are commitment questions. They're asking you what they would need in order to make that partnership work. So when you hear them, you don't want to go backward. You don't need to repitch anything. You just need to move forward. So an example of that would be like, that's a great question. Let's go ahead and just get you started, because confidence is going to keep the momentum going. Now, Damon, I want to finish with some strong how to close without sounding desperate, because we do see this when you're just starting out in sales. You do tend to have this like, I need to make this sale. I need to make my first close. So how do we take out that sound of desperation from new and inexperienced sales reps so that they can act confident before the confidence has been built?
Yeah, unfortunately, we see this a lot because there's a sense of nervousness, or sometimes when you have KPIs on you, you're really saying it without really feeling it. And so we want people to really feel the close. And I'll give you an example of what desperation sounds like. So desperation is like, what do you think? Maybe we could, or I hope this works. And then a lot of times when it comes to pricing, sometimes, a lot of sales reps think that maybe we're priced too high because they're so used to hearing this objection of, hey, the pricing isn't working for us. And so they're scared to make that ask. And then they just go, when they give them a price, it's like, is that okay? They're kind of waiting for this feedback to come back. And so we want to flip that around and say, okay, well, let's get into more assertiveness and, have a sound of authority when we're speaking. So something like, here's what I recommend, or this is the next step. And even using phrases like, let's move forward on this. And so your tonality matters. If you're able to hold that tone and pace it properly, then you're going to be able to make those closes. And it's also that energy that we're able to kind of transfer to that client. Again, when we're confident, we're going to insert that confidence into the customer as well. So the person buying the product or service is going to feel that energy movement from you, and it's going to help you. So when you believe in what you're offering and you have all the information, asking for the sale becomes more of a service and not pressure. So closing like a boss isn't aggressive. It's controlled. It's confident. It's clear.
Exactly. It's all about clarity and making the ask. If we don't make the ask, we don't get paid. So as a new and up-and-coming salesperson, make sure you're making the ask when doing your sales. Now, with that in mind, that is a wrap to the episode and the Mastering Phone Sales series, because this is our last episode. So now that we've covered closing like a boss, we hope that you've enjoyed it. And if you would like to, definitely go back and watch some of these episodes, because we've covered quite a few things regarding mastering phone sales, such as establishing the pitch, listening effectively, handling objections, leveraging different technologies, mastering the follow-up, and now, of course, closing with confidence, or like I like to say, closing like a boss. Because here's the truth, phone sales isn't easy, and it definitely isn't about just scripts. It's about preparation, confidence, clarity, and consistency. Closing is the reward that you get for doing everything else right within your sales journey. If you believe in your value, if you can control your tone, and if you can ask your prospect with confidence, then you too can close like a boss. So, thank you all for being part of the Mastering Phone Sales series. We will be continuing this journey in our Mastering Sales series, and we'll see you in the next section of our sales training. Until then, stay sharp, stay confident, and keep on closing.
Bye, everyone, and good luck.